The story kicks off with Katie caught in an unflattering moment, squatting in the woods to relieve herself. Her best friend, Sloane, calls out for her to hurry up and join the party. It's time for some questionable indulgence. Katie tries to resist, playing it cool, but peer pressure wins, and she gives in. The forest acoustics set the mood as they hear what sounds like a bear in the distance. Spooked, the duo heads back to Katie's room to recover from the wild night and brainstorm their next adventure, a trip to New York City. Katie's mom interrupts their planning session to announce that they'll be staying with Uncle Jason for the night. He's also volunteered to drive them to the bus station the following morning. Katie spins a story about working on an organic farm, making her mom beam with pride. Sloane, however, casually spills the truth. They're in it for the money. Enter Uncle Jason, an overprotective FBI agent. Before the girls head out, Katie wishes her mom a great vacation in Cuba. On the way, her phone rings with an obnoxious ringtone courtesy of Sloane's twisted sense of humor. Katie answers, but there's only silence on the other end, a bit unsettling. When they arrive at Jason's place, Sloane decides to spice things up, adopting the alias Heather and suggesting Katie go by Ripley. The next morning, Jason drops them at the bus station, reminding Katie to send him a daily code word to confirm they're safe. A classic paranoid move. They humor him with a selfie and the code, bringing a grin to his face. Later, Heather and Ripley stop at a diner and run into Jed and Lucas, two seemingly charming locals. The guys offer them a ride to the farm, and though hesitant, Katie eventually agrees. During the drive, Katie notices they pass the farm, but Jed keeps going. Panic sets in as the girls cling to each other, only to find themselves at the family's restaurant. Jed brushes off the detour, calling it a chance to meet the locals. His mom greets the girls warmly, and they decide to stay for a meal. While enjoying the food, Katie discreetly sends Jason their agreed-upon code word, Apple. Not exactly thrilling for an FBI agent, but it'll do. Moments later, both girls start feeling unwell. Realizing they've been poisoned, they try to escape, but Jed's mom orders her sons to capture them. The brothers drag the girls to a remote property and lock them in containers, turning their nightmare into reality. When the girls wake, they scream and rattle their chains, but Jed smugly informs them no one will hear. They're deep in the forest. He gives them a grim tour of their new home, complete with outdoor showers, generator-powered lighting, and a bathroom. It's like camping, but infinitely worse. Then comes Boris, the mastermind of this twisted operation. He scolds Jed for stealing his truck, but sweet-talks the girls, claiming it's his duty to keep them healthy. He retrieves Katie's phone and interrogates her about Jason. Katie tries to stay composed, explaining that Jason's her uncle, but Boris doesn't buy it, turning the exchange into an awkward power play. Meanwhile, Jason grows increasingly worried. His girlfriend, Gemma, tries to reassure him by revealing she saw Katie's Apple message earlier, but her words do little to ease his fears. Jason remains suspicious, unable to shake the feeling that something's off. Meanwhile, back at the twisted hideout, Jed awkwardly demonstrates how to use the outdoor shower to the captive girls. Boris, ever the manipulative mastermind, sends Jason a text from Katie's phone pretending everything is perfectly fine. Just as the girls start to lose hope, a man named Andrew appears, looking every bit the heroic sheriff. Relief flashes across their faces until the horrifying truth sets in. Andrew isn't there to save them. He's a client of Jed and Lucas, arriving for some deeply sinister extracurricular activities. He pops a little blue pill, winks at the terrified girls, and turns their hope to ashes. Desperate, the girls try to appeal to Lucas, pleading for his help. Later, after Andrew has finished his vile deeds, a devastated Katie breaks down, comforted by Sloane in an unexpected moment of tenderness. Meanwhile, Jason, now fully attuned to the danger, grows increasingly worried. He realizes the Apple code wasn't a mistake. Though Gemma tries to dismiss his fears, it's clear to Jason this situation won't be fixed with optimism or fruit. Back at the hideout, Jed and Lucas welcome another client, Clyde, who chooses Sloane as his next victim. Sloane, channeling every ounce of rebellion she can muster, spits in his face. Enraged, Clyde retaliates viciously, slapping her before extinguishing his cigarette on her skin. Meanwhile, Jason continues his frantic investigation. Calling the farm, he discovers the girls are missing. Gemma, blissfully unaware of the gravity of the situation, is too busy preparing for a meet-the-parents dinner to notice Jason's growing distress. As Jed and Lucas check the girls' restraints, a distant scream echoes through the forest, sending shivers down everyone's spines. They warn the girls about an upcoming special client, and moments later, Pigment enters. Dressed in black and snorting ominously, he's a walking nightmare. He drags Sloane away, leaving her screaming as if she were front row at a horror show. Locked in a container, Sloane's terror grows, and Katie does her best to console her friend, playing the role of therapist amidst the chaos. Meanwhile, Jason is in full Liam Neeson from Taken mode. He reports the girls missing to Sheriff Andrews, but the sheriff brushes it off, claiming they're probably just out partying. Because, of course, nothing screams party like a missing persons report. Boris, now panicking that Jason's FBI connections might expose their operation, orders Jed and Lucas to eliminate the girls. The next morning, Jason scores a local diner, showing pictures of the girls to anyone who will listen. The diner's owner remembers seeing two men in a blue pickup truck with a gaudy, tasteless sticker. Back at the hideout, Boris and his crew prepare for one last customer. But Katie, using every ounce of cunning, turns the tables. She lures the client into a trap, going full femme fatale. In a shocking move, she bites into his neck like a predator, leaving him lifeless. The girls pull off a daring escape, unlocking their restraints with Houdini-level finesse. By the time Sheriff Andrews arrives, fashionably late as always, the girls have already vanished, leaving behind a scene of chaos like a raid on a college dorm's snack stash. Katie and Sloan steal a getaway car and tear down the highway, ready to put as much distance as possible between themselves and their captors. Along the way, they spot two young women who seem like the next targets in this twisted scheme. Realizing this is no Scooby-Doo mystery and no one's coming to save the day, the girls decide to take matters into their own hands. Their first stop, the hardware store where they stock up on tools for some DIY justice that would make Pinterest jealous. At checkout, Katie casually mentions Boris's name, prompting the clerk to grimace like he just realized his lemonade was spiked with vinegar. Meanwhile, Jason works his FBI magic at an insurance agency, claiming he accidentally dinged Boris' blue pickup truck. The helpful reps practically trip over themselves to provide Boris' address faster than you can say full coverage. At Boris' place, the villain returns to find his record player spinning ominously. Before he can channel his inner Dirty Harry, Katie smacks him with a tennis ball rigged with spikes, a Serena Williams move with a vengeance. Boris hits the ground and is promptly tied up, looking less like a fearsome criminal and more like a dog begging for scraps. As Boris tries to bribe his way out, spilling secrets about his hidden loot, Sloan is in the background fashioning a spiked bat that would make a pro baseball player cringe. Jason finally arrives, juggling a call from Gemma, who's nagging about their upcoming dinner. With a quick, "Don't worry, babe," Jason bursts into the scene to find Boris battered and bruised, looking like he wandered off the set of a rejected Tarantino flick. After extracting the truth, Katie and Sloan track down the mysterious masked man to a church, where he's preaching fire and brimstone like a second-rate televangelist. The girls aren't intimidated. When he calls Katie Jezebel, she smirks and retorts, "If standing up to creeps like you makes me a Jezebel, I'll wear the crown. Thanks." Not content with just one victory, the girls tie the preacher to their car like a bizarre homage to National Lampoon's Vacation. They make a pit stop for matches, leaving him alone to scroll through Bible verses as if cramming for a divine spell in B. When they return, the scene takes a fiery turn, quite literally. Justice is served, leaving a trail of ashes and retribution in their wake. At the sheriff's office, Andrews decides to tie up Jason like it's some national holiday for restraining people. But no sweat, Katie and Sloan are already hatching a plan. The girls, quiet as ninjas, sneak up on Andrews. With a welling swing of the bat, they knock him out cold. Jason, blissfully unaware, is locked in a room, probably daydreaming or debating the meaning of life. When Andrews comes to, he's the one tied up now, looking like a Sunday roast. Trying to save himself, he starts bribing them with money, but the girls only laugh, seeing him as a malfunctioning human ATM. Katie ups the ante by playing a game of pick a hand. Andrews chooses the right one, only to find a bullet as his reward. Sloan follows up, and he ends up with a handful of matches instead. Terrified, Andrews asks what's next in this twisted game. With wicked grins, the girls declare it's time for Russian roulette. Katie spins the chamber and pulls the trigger. Click. Empty. Sloan tries. Click. Empty again. The tension builds as they take turns, the clicking sound almost mocking Andrews. On the fifth pull, the gun fires, and it's game over for the sheriff. Next up is the matriarch of Jed and Lucas's creepy clan. After enjoying some wine, spiked by Katie and Sloan, she wakes up to a shocking scene. Her son Jed tied up and perched on a stack of books like some sacrificial offering. She pleads with the girls, but Katie kicks the books out from under Jed, sending him crashing down. What follows is a brutal beatdown that leaves Jed more battered than a piñata at a wild party. Lucas, the so-called good brother, becomes their next target. Sloan gives him a chilling ultimatum: either take care of his mother himself or face the same fate as his brother. Panicking, Lucas drops to his knees, promising to keep quiet if they let him go. But his pleas fall on deaf ears, and Sloan ends things swiftly with a single shot. To cover their tracks, the girls plant the murder weapon in Lucas's hand. But they're not done. Katie takes care of the mother in the most dramatic way possible, using a lawnmower for a gruesome makeover. As the dust settles, Jason unknowingly becomes their getaway driver, dropping them off at the airport. Katie's mom, blissfully out of the loop, tells her daughter to keep Jason updated about their New York adventure. Jason, none the wiser about the carnage left behind, assures her everything will be fine. As the girls board their flight, they're ready to take on New York, leaving a trail of justice and chaos in their wake. The moral of the story: these girls have the grit, guts, and a little too much creativity when it comes to revenge.